The real-life story of Jim Carrey. From pain to purpose. In the world of comedy and film, few names shine as brightly as Jim Carrey. The man who could twist his face into any shape, stretch reality with his humor, and make millions of people laugh until they cried. But behind that famous grin lies one of the most inspiring and emotional journeys in Hollywood. A story of poverty, pain, determination, and spiritual awakening. This is the real story of Jim Carrey, the man who taught the world that laughter can be born from tears. Jim Carrey was born on January 17, 1962, in Newmarket, Ontario, Canada. His full name was James Eugene Carrey, and he was the youngest of 4 children. His mother, Kathleen, was a homemaker with a tender heart, but often suffered from chronic illness and depression. His father, Percy Carrey, was a talented saxophonist and comedian at heart, a man who dreamed of becoming famous, but instead worked as an accountant to support his family. From a very early age, Jim adored his father. Percy had a natural gift for comedy and often entertained the family with impressions and jokes. Jim watched him closely and learned that laughter could heal. The family was warm, funny, and loving, but financial security was always fragile. When Jim was around 12 years old, everything changed. Percy lost his job. The Carreys fell into deep financial trouble and had to move out of their comfortable home into a small Volkswagen van parked near a relative's yard. Later, they lived in a tent on the outskirts of Toronto. For Jim, it was a shock. Once a happy, energetic boy, he now faced a life of uncertainty. To help make ends meet, he took a job as a janitor at a factory, working 8-hour shifts after school. He was just a teenager, sweeping floors, scrubbing toilets, and feeling the weight of life pressing down on him. School became difficult. He struggled socially and emotionally. His classmates didn't understand his poverty, and his teachers thought he was just another troublemaker. But inside, Jim was forming something powerful, a sense of resilience and creativity that would one day define him. Even during his darkest days, Jim found one place where he felt truly alive, on stage. He loved to make people laugh. He would mimic teachers, celebrities, and even his classmates. His classmates began to notice his incredible ability to transform his face into almost anyone's expression. Jim had found his gift. At just 15 years old, he started performing stand-up comedy at local clubs in Toronto. His father, though struggling himself, believed in his son's dream and drove him to every show, sitting in the back row, watching proudly. But Jim's first performances were disasters. His jokes fell flat, his timing was off, and audiences often booed him off stage. One night, he froze mid-performance. Overwhelmed by stage fright and humiliation, he returned home heartbroken. But instead of giving up, he doubled down. He practiced every day, in front of mirrors, perfecting impressions of famous actors like Clint Eastwood, Jack Nicholson, and James Stewart. He studied comedy, rewrote his jokes, and sharpened his timing. Slowly, his confidence grew. Within a few years, Jim began to win over audiences. His wild energy, rubbery face, and unpredictable humor made him stand out. He became a regular at Toronto's top comedy clubs, and soon, people were whispering about the crazy guy who can become anyone. In the early 1980s, Jim decided to chase his dream all the way to the heart of show business, Hollywood. He moved to Los Angeles with nothing but hope and a dream. It was not an easy move. He was broke, lonely, and living in a small apartment. Some nights he parked his car near Mulholland Drive, gazing over the bright city lights, imagining himself among the stars. One night he did something extraordinary. He wrote himself a check for $10 million, dated Thanksgiving 1995, with the words, "For acting services rendered." He placed it in his wallet as a symbol of faith. Jim promised himself that one day he would earn that money through his work as an actor. He kept that check for years, a daily reminder that the universe rewards those who believe. Jim's early Hollywood days were full of rejection. He auditioned for countless shows and films, often being told he was too over the top or too weird. But he didn't stop. In 1983, he appeared on The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson, where he showcased his incredible impressions. The performance impressed many and got him noticed in the industry. Soon after, he landed small roles in films like Once Bitten and Peggy Sue Got Married. Then came his first major television break. In Living Color, 1990, a sketch comedy show that celebrated diverse and outrageous humor. Jim's wild energy fit perfectly. His characters, like the manic Fire Marshal Bill, became instant hits. Audiences couldn't get enough of his unpredictable style. Jim Carrey had finally found his stage. The early 1990s became Jim Carrey's golden era. In 1994, 3 movies changed his life forever: Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, The Mask, Dumb and Dumber. All 3 were massive hits, and suddenly, Jim Carrey went from struggling comedian to Hollywood's biggest comedy star. Audiences loved his outrageous characters, wild physical comedy, and emotional vulnerability hidden beneath the humor. He wasn't just funny, he was fearless. In The Mask, he played a shy man transformed into a cartoon-like hero. In Dumb and Dumber, he was delightfully ridiculous, yet oddly lovable. And as Ace Ventura, he became a pop culture icon. That same year, the $10 million check he had written to himself came true, almost exactly as he had imagined. Faith had turned into reality. But Jim Carrey was more than just a funny man. He longed to prove that he could be a serious actor, too. In 1998, he starred in The Truman Show, a deeply emotional film about a man who discovers his entire life is a TV show. The movie revealed Jim's depth as an actor and earned him critical acclaim and a Golden Globe Award. In 1999, he took on the role of the eccentric comedian Andy Kaufman in Man on the Moon. The role was so intense that Jim disappeared into character, living as Andy even off set. His performance was so convincing that some thought he had lost himself entirely. Jim won another Golden Globe, proving once again that he was more than Hollywood's clown. He was an artist. Despite his success, Jim Carrey's personal life was filled with emotional struggles. He had always battled depression and often spoke about the emptiness that fame could not fill. "I wish everyone could get rich and famous and have everything they ever dreamed of," he once said, "so they will know it's not the answer." He faced several heartbreaks in relationships, including his marriages to Melissa Wimmer and later Lauren Holly. Both ended in divorce. In interviews, Jim spoke openly about how success brought him everything he wanted, except peace. Behind the laughter was a man searching for meaning. He began exploring spirituality, meditation, and philosophy, reading deeply about the nature of self and reality. He believed that we are not the roles we play, but the awareness behind them. Jim often shared profound insights that surprised people who knew him only as a comedian. "You are not your story," he said. "You are the space in which your story happens." In 2015, tragedy struck when Jim's former girlfriend, Catriona White, died by suicide. The loss devastated him. For a time, Jim disappeared from public life, choosing silence and reflection over fame. Tabloids speculated endlessly, but Jim turned inward. He began painting, sketching, and writing. Art became his therapy, a way to express pain and healing. His paintings, often bold and emotional, were later exhibited publicly and received praise for their raw honesty. He also began giving powerful talks about spiritual awakening, ego, and self-acceptance. Many were surprised to see a new side of Jim, not the comedian, but the philosopher. He said, "I used to be a guy who was trying to make the world laugh. Now I just want to make the world see." In recent years, Jim Carrey has chosen a quieter, more introspective life. He continues to act occasionally, appearing in projects like Kidding, 2018, and Sonic the Hedgehog, 2020, but his focus has shifted. He paints, writes, and speaks about life, energy, and the universe. He once said in an interview, "I'm not a person anymore. I'm just a field of energy that's happening. This might sound strange, but for Jim it means freedom. Freedom from ego, identity, and expectation." After a lifetime of wearing masks, both literal and metaphorical, he finally found peace in being no one. His paintings are deeply political and emotional, often expressing his thoughts about love, compassion, and the human experience. Through art, Jim continues to inspire millions, not just to laugh, but to think, to heal, and to awaken. Jim Carrey's life is proof that pain and purpose are often intertwined. From a poor boy cleaning floors to one of the richest actors in Hollywood, his journey has been nothing short of miraculous. But his true legacy isn't just his movies, it's his message. He has taught the world that laughter can rise from suffering, that faith can create reality, and that true happiness doesn't come from fame or money, but from self-realization. Today, when asked what advice he would give to dreamers, Jim often says, "Risk being seen in all your glory. You can fail at what you don't want, so you might as well take a chance on doing what you love." Though he could have remained a Hollywood superstar forever, Jim chose a different path, one of simplicity, art, and spirituality. He lives quietly, away from the spotlight, creating art that reflects truth and compassion. He has spoken often about his belief in manifestation, the power of the mind to create reality. His $10 million check story has inspired countless dreamers to believe in themselves. But Jim always reminds people that true success isn't material, it's inner peace. He says, "I have no limits. I can't be contained because I am the container." This may sound philosophical, but it represents his lifelong journey. From a boy trapped by poverty and fear to a man free from identity itself. Jim Carrey's story is more than the tale of a comedian. It's the evolution of a soul. He once described life as the miracle of awareness. He believes that all the pain, laughter, and chaos of existence serve a greater purpose, to awaken us to who we truly are. Whether through the manic genius of Ace Ventura, the emotional depth of The Truman Show, or the quiet wisdom of his art, Jim has given the world one great gift: the courage to be authentic. He has shown that behind every laugh is a tear, behind every failure is faith, and behind every mask is a human being longing to be free. Today, Jim Carrey is no longer chasing fame, fortune, or applause. He has already lived through the peaks of success and the depths of despair. What remains is a man who understands life deeply, a man who can still laugh, still love, and still inspire. His journey teaches us this simple truth: happiness doesn't come from getting everything you want. It comes from knowing who you truly are. Jim Carrey's story is the story of transformation, from a poor boy with a dream to a man who found peace within himself. He began as a jester and became a sage. He made the world laugh, and in doing so, helped it heal.